first things first, Mark.
Yep.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm all right, thanks. Well, before we talk about the record, well, you have this band, your own band. Then you have Alter Bridge. Then you do, you give guitar lessons. You do so many things. Where do you find the time?
I don't. I'm just backed up, thing after thing. You know, I like to stay busy. If I'm away from home, and you know, I like to stay busy because I got 2 kids at home. So when I'm at home, I like to spend all my time with them.
Do you ever wind down? Then is that when you hang with your family?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm on tour, like I said, I like to work as much as I can. So when I get home, I can wind down and spend all the time with the kids. And it's only after they go to sleep that I really get to do any work, or if they're in school when I'm at home. So when I'm out here, I stay as busy as possible.
So, but even then, when you're at home at night, you're writing, you're thinking about riffs?
I mean, there's plenty of nights where we just get in bed, watch a movie with the kids and family. I don't play guitar at all, but when they're in school, it's a good opportunity for me to play, or after they go to sleep on school night, you know, I'll try and get work done. I constantly have to be writing for the next album, so I figure out when to do that.
Why? Well, what drives you? Because it seems like you barely take off, because once one album for one project is finished, then you immediately continue with the next.
Well, having 2 bands, you know, we're on 3-year cycles, so it's every about a year and a half I have to come up with an album. So it's I'm always just writing for that next album, just trying to keep up. You know, if I wasn't writing right now, the next all the Alter Bridge fans would get upset because the record would be delayed. So I've got to keep on track. You know.
Is it a fun thing, or does it also add a bit of pressure then?
It's a fun thing. I mean, I wouldn't mind a 6-month, you know, buffer on each side, but I'm not complaining. You know, I'd much rather be busy than sitting at home going, I wish I had a career doing what I love doing, and I do have a career where I love what I'm doing. So I'm happy about that.
And all those little things that you do on the side of it with Fret 12, and where does that just come in when you have time, when you're around the house with your brother? Or?
That's when I go through Chicago and my brother's like, all right, we got to have you all day long to film, and I want, you know, like when I went through Chicago last time, I filmed the video for one of our songs, I filmed some instructional stuff, and we work until I get tired, and then they have enough stuff until I get back through Chicago.
These instructional things, do they teach you some things in a sense, or is it just you showing when you go through all these things?
It's good. I mean, being able to teach, you have to clean up your playing a lot and learn how to play things slow and fast and break it up and learn how to explain it right, and it keeps you on your toes. You know, I think what helps me is I do guitar clinics every day, every show. I wake up, first thing I do is I sit with people before sound check and I teach guitar lessons, and every day I'm going through routines and I ask people what they want, if there's anything specific they want to go over. So if all of a sudden they're like, I want to learn how to sweep pick, I'll be like, okay, well, I'm practice sweep picking today. So that keeps me in shape as a guitar player, is constantly teaching players of all different skill levels. Because I'll teach kids that don't know how to play at all, and I'll teach people that have gone to Berkeley, you know, School of Music. I've teach jazz players who want to learn how to play metal, or metal players who have no vibrato, and you know, just all kinds of different, you know, scenarios.
And for instance, then, if you play with somebody who has a jazz background, do you pick up things then from them as well, or is it?
Not well. I would if it was just one-on-one, but since there's, you know, sometimes 10, 15 people in the room, I can't be like, oh, just show me those jazz riffs, because everybody else in the room will be like, we come to learn your stuff. So, but I learn as much as I can. When I'm sitting down with other guitar players, I will always ask them, you know, what's your top 2 favorite go-to riffs? What are your most useful riffs that you use? And that's how every time I sit down with somebody, I'll ask them that. So I'm always learning from as many people as I can.
And if you go back to when you first picked up the guitar, I believe you were around 11.
Yep.
Was there someone in your life who had that effect on you, who taught you to play?
Nobody taught me. There was nobody around that knew how to play guitar. I wanted to play guitar for a few years before. Maybe when I was 9 years old, I started asking my parents, "Can I have a guitar for Christmas?" And I'd see a guitar at the store. You know, back in the days, you'd see guitars with speakers built into the guitar, and begged my parents, but they always bought me just toys. And my buddy had said that he was buying a fancy guitar and he would sell me his guitar he had right now for $10. So I bought my first guitar for $10. And then I went out and bought an amplifier for $40. So my first guitar and amp was $50.
Right.
So that's what I learned on. It was a terrible guitar, terrible amplifier, but I just learned on my own. I first started playing with my thumb, and then just tried to learn on my own. I took one guitar lesson and I didn't like it, so I stopped and just developed as a songwriter, as a guitar player on my own.
Sorry, I can't. Hello. I think your mic fell out. Can I check?
Yep, check.
Can you say something?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Back again. Okay. So, well, around in those days, there was no internet. There was no. So, what was it? Just practicing by ear and listening to songs and trying to recreate it?
When I first started, I didn't learn anybody's stuff. I wrote my own stuff. That's why I like. The way I developed my own sound was not learning anybody's stuff because I wasn't good enough. And of course, I liked. Even when I first started playing guitar, that was before I even came across bands like Metallica or anything like that. That was, I can't even remember. I might have been in seventh grade when I came across my metal, Master of Puppets record, and then it got into Slayer and everything heavier. But before that, I just wanted to play. I listened to bands like Boston on the radio and stuff like that, and I'd hear the big guitar breakdown. I just wanted to be able to play that, but I was never good enough to do it. So I'd just make noise on my own and write my own songs. And I've been writing my own songs since I was 11 years old. So I developed songwriting much before guitar playing. And I always tell people when I sit down with them teaching them guitar, I said when I pick up a guitar, 90% of the time it's not doing all the guitar lead stuff. It's sitting down and writing songs. And then that's what keeps me excited about the guitar. It's not the flashy, fun lead stuff, which is fun. Especially when you're in front of crowds doing it, but when I'm at home, I get much more inspired by finger picking a nice, slow melodic, coming up with vocal melodies and singing, and that's what keeps me excited.
Did you record any of those early?
Oh yeah.
Do you still have them?
Yeah, I still have all my old tapes. I've always kept everything. So I have on the first album, first Tremonti record, there's a song called "Wish You Well," and I have the 4-track tape of that song recorded back in like 7th grade. Okay. I had a drum machine, just playing behind me, and I actually gave it to my brother. My brother Dan begged for me to give it to him so he could put it out on the website for a special sneak peek or something. So he put it up on through Fret 12, the original demo of that song.
So do you go back to that a lot as a reference book or in a way?
Some of those old songs, it's been a long time since I've listened to the ones from back in junior high school and whatnot, but I'll still go back 10 years ago and see what I've written back then, but some of that stuff from way, way, way back when is no good anymore.
Okay. And well, you say you focus mostly on songwriting. Mm-hmm. What compelled you to write? Was it initially just riffs and melodies, or was it fully fledged songs with lyrics and everything?
Songs, at the time I was trying to put together songs. I didn't know how to put together songs. I just learned along the way, but I loved singing vocal melodies. That was my biggest thing. And then it came from writing. I still write pieces. I'll just write a part and then try my best to come up with another part that matches it. And if I don't, I'll just go write something else. And then years later, another part will come along that fit that part, and that's when the song will be completed. So I never was the type of songwriter that sat down and tried to complete a song all at once. I think that hurts your songs. I think that if you write one great part and then you try and finish that song within a few days or a week, you're going to have that one great part mixed with other parts that are kind of forced in there that aren't as great. If you write that one great part and then go about your life for years and years and years, and then when you're putting together a record and you find this great part and that great part and this great part from years and years difference, put them together, and then it's one big great song. It's not forced.
Right.
And that's, I think, the main difference between the way I write and the way most people write. I don't have, I have patience to know that one day this part will be finished. I'm not going to force it now. I'll do my best to finish it, but if it's not sounding 100%, I'll wait.
Do you know that when you have a certain bit and maybe a year later you write something else, do you instantly know, oh, this goes with that?
No, what I do, every now and then that will happen, but for when I record an idea, I'll just let it, I'll record my ideas and then I'll go back a week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, and I'll listen to my ideas, and if it doesn't excite me, I'll delete it right away. Okay. If I like it, I'll name it from whatever lyric I'm singing in there. I'll say what tuning it's in. If it's an open E tuning, I say open E, the name of it. I'll tap out the tempo of it, this many beats per minute. If it's a 6/8 feel, 1 2 3 1 2 3, I'll put 6/8, and then I'll put chorus, verse, bridge, whatever the part feels like. So when I have a great verse that I want, and I see that it's an open E and it's 122 beats per minute, and it's a 6/8 tuning, I'll go through my files and I'll look for all my open E ideas that are within that, within 10 or 15 beats per minute of that. And I'll put, okay, here's 15 choruses that I can see if will fit. So it's all, putting puzzle pieces together.
Have you ever regretted deleting something?
No, I mean, because I never, I've gotten much better with it. The older I've gotten, the more I am with just get rid of it right away. Back when I was a kid, I hoarded ideas, and then you just get bogged down with too much stuff. And I've gotten better at just purging, make room for the good stuff,
So when it came to the new record then, Cauterize, were there some sketches or elements you knew you wanted to use?
Yeah, well, Flying Monkeys was a riff that I had around for years and years and years, probably 8 years or so, and I used to play it with the guys from Alter Bridge. At sound check, I'd start playing the riff, the guys would play along, and it never went anywhere. That's why we got the name of the song, is that the drum tech at the time came out and he goes, man, that riff reminds me of the Flying Monkeys from Wizard of Oz. Okay. So now whenever I logged that idea in my hard drive, I'd label it as Flying Monkeys. So when we finished the song, it's called Flying Monkeys. But it was just one of those riffs that I always loved, and I always wanted to make it happen, but it just never materialized. So
what worked this time?
Well, back in the day, it was just a riff, and the guys would play along with me. Now I sang melody over it and found the right pieces to put with it. It was just, before it was just a musical riff that didn't go anywhere. Now when I started singing over it, that's when it clicked, and the melody is the most important part. A riff could be great. If it doesn't have any melody to it or any other parts that have good melodic content, then it's just kind of boring to me.
Well, you say melody is key. So when you write a song, do you start with the melodies always?
Yeah, I mean,
Or always?
Not always. Melodies, if I'm writing a heavy, fast metal riff, sometimes it's hard for me to sing over it. So that there are riffs that just end up being bookends or starts of songs or bridge riffs or parts that just don't have any melody to it. Or a riff that I might not put a melody to, that I play a riff and all of a sudden Miles starts singing over it and he has a melody to it. But there's some parts that you just can't, you can't do two things at once. So, right. And sometimes you just have to wait a minute before you can play and sing over something. Just like the Flying Monkeys thing. I never thought to put a vocal over it until I sat down and simplified the riff in the song and started singing over it, and that's when it came alive.
So can I assume then that the lyrics generally come last?
Yes. Well, sometimes the lyrics come right off the bat. When I write a part, I'll improvise lyrics over top of it. So when I record it into my computer, I'll just sing off the top of my head whatever words come to my head. And you'd be surprised to see how close some of the final lyrics are from that very first improvised moment. And I use those, sometimes I'll improvise things round and round and round and round. When I write lyrics, I'll hear what I said, and I'll, even if it's just the vowel sounds, the vowel placements and whatnot will sound like words, and I'll be able to write lyrics just from those takes. And a lot of times it saves me from having to come up with brand new, unique ideas. I'll have them there already just from improvised melody ideas.